This is a brand new Pro PS5 controller that claims to have fixed stick drift along with some other promising features. So let's check it out. It's called the Hex Gaming Phantom and isn't releasing until the end of August. And while they did send this controller to me for free, I'm not being paid for this video at all. First things first is the unboxing experience, and the controller does come in this case, which is pretty cool. But I'll be honest, I don't really take my controllers anywhere, so these are just kind of like a novelty. It's cool, but I don't really use it. However, once you open the case, we get our first look at the controller. So mine came in this sort of gunmetal gray looking color. It is of course a PS5 controller layout, and then it looks like they don't actually ship the sticks on the controller. So I guess that could save the sticks during transit, which could help the controller to not get stick drift. But that's of course not the feature that actually prevents the stick drift. That feature is actually in here, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit. Because first things first, I just want to look over all the features. So the overall look here is pretty clean. We got the gray body, the black buttons, the black touchpad with some text on the touchpad. It says right there, the Hex Gaming Phantom. The sticks show up in this little case here, and if I go ahead and pop this open, we actually get 8 custom sticks to choose from. So let's see what we got here. Alright, it looks like we have 2 different lengths to choose from. We got the long and the short. And then for the top shapes, we have 3 different total shapes. We have these really flat ones. We have these sort of little domed ones. And then we have these ones, which are sort of more the normal PS5 feel. So now we can see the different stick designs next to each other, along with the different heights of the stick. Now before we hit the top of the controller with the hopefully stick drift fixer, let's hit the back of the controller where a lot of the other magic is happening. So back here we have this textured rubber grip, which feels really nice. Having something that's not just smooth plastic to rest your hands on always just feels good. And then obviously you cannot miss these 4 massive back buttons. All of these back buttons are clicky and actually press in like really easily with almost no pressure. But the placement is a little interesting. So they call them K1 through K4. And I mean, just going off of the feel test, I don't know how I feel about it. Again, they take almost no pressure to click, but I'm not really sure if I should be using 4 fingers or 2 fingers. I guess the placement is kind of set up so you would be able to pick between the 2 grips. But personally, again, just going from feel, it seems like the 2 bottom paddles should be slightly lower. Maybe that's something that you're able to get used to quickly, though. I'm not sure. We'll see when I actually go try it in game. The buttons are very tactile and clicky, which is very nice to hear, and the feedback feel that you get from them is just really nice. I gotta admit, I'm kind of a sucker for clicky buttons on a controller. Now, one other thing that we'll have on the back is these 2 switches, which are actually to control the trigger stop. So when these are flipped to the in position, the triggers function just as a normal press. However, with just a flip of the switch, the triggers turn into digital tap mouse clicks. Not only do mouse click triggers sound and feel extremely nice, but you don't have to be stuck with one or the other. Like if you want to play some sort of racing game where you need the throttle control of the triggers and press it all the way down, you can do that. And then if you want the tactical advantage of having faster reflex time, you can just flip that switch and have that as well. I first started using that feature with my main controller, the Scuff Vision Pro, about 8 months ago, ever since I got this. And it is one of my favorite features on this controller as well. So I love that more controllers are starting to adapt to that. And now the final feature, and probably the most important of them all, the thing that is going to potentially fix stick drift, is right here. So when buying this controller, you get 2 options for your joysticks. The first option is Hall effect joysticks, which you've probably heard of before. Essentially, how gaming controllers have always worked is there's a physical connection that sends the input from the stick to the controller's brain. However, because there's a real mechanical connection inside of the controller, things can go wrong and cause what we know as stick drift, which is basically where you're not touching your sticks anymore, but your character is still moving in game. It is incredibly common with controllers, and that's why, especially lately, we've been seeing a bunch of attempts to fix that. Sony has taken the route with the DualSense Edge of just being able to completely replace the module entirely and buy a separate one. Or another big thing companies are now going to are Hall effect joysticks. And so with Hall effect joysticks, instead of a physical connection, which dust and stuff can get stuck into and wear out the parts, there's actually a magnetic sensor which takes the input from the stick and then sends it to the brains of the controller. So So with that, even if dust and stuff gets into the controller, it won't mess up that connection and give you drift. Now, while it's still less common to get stick drift with Hall effect joysticks, it's not impossible. So with the Phantom here, if you don't choose the Hall effect joystick option, they also have an option to offset your stick drift with this. They call this their DryFix technology, and you can adjust the joystick modules and adjust the axis deviations to keep your controller's performance. Now, I think for the average person that doesn't really know anything about stick drift or where to even set these modules to, with what they call this DryFix technology, it would take some time to learn. But if you ever got a little stick drift, you could go in and physically change the deviation and basically fix your stick drift. So that is two options on a pro PS5 controller to actually combat stick drift, which I think is pretty cool. However, with each option you pick comes a different price. So if you get this version with the DryFix technology and you have to make your own adjustments, that is going to be $259. And that's also, of course, if you get the whole pack that comes with the charging cable, the extra thumbsticks, the case, and all that. But if you get the Hall effect version, that's $279. So that adds $20 to get the Hall effect joysticks. As for which one is better at combating stick drift, I honestly have no idea. I would say if you're confident enough in your ability to go in and manually fix your stick drift, then this is definitely a cool option. But I think for the average person, you're probably better off just getting the Hall effect sticks. But again, that's kind of just a guess. Now, as for what else comes in the case, we have a charging cable. Pretty nice braided USB-C cable with some Hex Gaming branding. And then we have these, which are joystick protector rings. So this is now the third attempt at trying to prevent stick drift on this controller. And the purpose of these is that because I have the controller with the DryFix technology and not the Hall effect joysticks, if dust and particle do happen to get inside the controller's rings, it can still mess it up. So with these, what you can do is stretch them around the edge of the stick, and then when you put the stick on, while it looks a little goofy, that connection is now blocked by the rubber ring. It does make the sticks glide slightly less smoothly around the edge ring, but I mean, to prevent stick drift on a multi-$100 pro controller, it's probably worth it. So overall, this seems pretty cool. There's a ton of custom adjustability features. We can fix our own stick drift. I would say it feels pretty good overall. But does it actually perform? Let's find out. So like with any controller, let's go ahead and get a first little feel here. And yeah, it's gonna be these back paddles that really take some getting used to. I think that's honestly gonna be my biggest issue with it. And by the way, if you also play Fortnite, then I definitely recommend trying out this free build and practice 1v1 map. It has custom music options, custom background options that are all super chill. You can put on custom crosshairs. It has auto build reset features, so you can just basically infinitely free build, and all you have to do to find it is search Carter 2K in the map tab and then favorite it so you never lose it. Now, we know a lot of people might think that if the paddle setup is awkward, that you can just get used to it with time, but in my experience, that honestly isn't the case. If paddles aren't comfortable to me within the first like few hours of use, then they'll just never be comfortable. And trust me, I've tried. I mean, especially with the PS5 aim controller, that controller to this day still has some of my favorite ever build quality. It feels amazing, but the paddles on it, I just cannot get used to them. It was making me so much worse at Fortnite that I just had to switch off of it. And especially when I compared that to a controller like the Scuff Envision Pro, I basically instantly loved those paddles, and almost instantly it made me better at the game. So again, I know people can see sort of an awkward layout and think that, oh, I'll just adjust and get comfortable with them over time. But I've tried now close to 40 controllers, and honestly, I've just found that to not be the case. Let's see what I can do here. We got a shotgun off rip. Ooh, okay, we got the aim here. Not bad so far, even though it still is feeling a little bit awkward. Okay, that guy's the GOAT. So what's happening on the back of the controller that you can't really see is it feels really awkward to me to use all 4 fingers to click the 4 paddles. So instead, what I'm using right now is just using my 2 middle fingers to click all 4 of these, which personally I don't really think is ideal. I'd much rather have 1 finger for each button, but the 1 finger for each button thing just isn't comfortable at all. Oh. Oh, bro, 1 shot. All right, everything still is feeling a little bit awkward, but we're slowly but surely getting a little bit better. Dang. Oh my. So I don't know, I really do like everything that they're trying to do to combat stick drift. It's 100% a step in the right direction, but the controller is still pushing almost $300, so for that price, I really want to love everything about the controller, and I'm just not really sure about these back paddles. But that's our look at the PS5 Hex Gaming Phantom. Drop a like, let me know what you guys think, and thanks so much for watching.